abuse. I don't know. It must be doing something. How
well,
you doing, man?
You've badgered me enough times. I know
Yeah,
it's hard for you to find guests in your 900 episodes, so I guess I'll come back a second time.
Getting there, man. I'm gonna be at 1,000 next year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's gonna be like and when I get to 1,000, I change the show again. I already have this master plan kind of built to where I want to take the show next. So, but yeah, we're getting there. I'll be bugging you when I get to 900 for sure. I'll be like, hey, John, you want to come back with like a certain point? I have a master plan for like 900 to 1,000, but we're not here to talk about me much today. We're here to talk about you because you got, the Drumsticks of Doom, man. This is your baby's up and it's live, right?
It's up. It's live. Issue 2. We had such a great success in February to March of this year with issue 1. Once we shipped in August, issue 1, we wanted to fire out issue 2 right away. So we're already up there. Book's almost done. We're ready to ship it. We just need to cross that funding threshold, and then we'll be good to go.
Yeah. So when does it conclude? Like, when does your campaign conclude?
October 7th.
Damn it. I get paid like right after that.
Oh, don't worry about it, man. I'll send you a free one. You guys always promoting us and stuff. We can hook you up.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. I'll make sure I'll talk to the boss of the show. I know he's a bit of a prick, but I can probably get him to get your episode up early next week, just so that you can get a little extra listens before it's all said and done. If that's cool with you, yeah. But I mean, he is an asshole, but it is one of those things. Yeah,
Everybody's
you had to work with him.
An asshole.
Yeah, you had to work with him, so what he was like. So, yeah, but no, man. So, is it getting easier for you? Like, I mean, the fact that, like, you did. I know the last campaign you did was for On the Stack. Then you're doing Drumsticks of Doom, and you're doing like you did the original On the Stack. Like, was it Springfield Comics the first time too? When you did that, when you did On the Stack, the first one.
No, we the Simpsons anthology was this year. On the Stack was last year, the first one, and then we did the second On the Stack with Springfield. Yeah, this year.
Okay, right. So I ask it like that because so you've done a fair bit of campaigns, right? Is it comfortable now? Oddly enough,
it's getting better. I was with the previous publisher I may have mentioned before, Kingbone Press, for about a decade. And we actually didn't crowdfund that much. We tried not to kind of extend there. We were around when Kickstarter kind of first started. And we did probably, 6 or 8, maybe a little bit more. So I was pretty comfortable, but then I took a couple years off, and you know how that goes, when you're kind of re-engaging with your business / hobby, and you've kind of lost some of the momentum. So there was a lot of nerves the first few campaigns. I think we talked, before
we talked a little bit about the nerves last time.
Yeah. And we had the stumble with one campaign. So that kind of sets the doubt in there a little bit, but really honestly, with the great success with Drumsticks, I was probably the most confident I've ever been going in, because I knew that we had some fan base there. If we could just cobble together a couple hundred readers, and with 269 backers in the first one, I figured we had enough, right? My goal was reasonable enough. I wasn't shooting for 20 grand or something crazy. So I'm pretty confident in this particular book. Seems to be, people seem to like it. So that really helped take some of the nerves away. They're never gone completely, but.
well, no, it's good to have some nerves. Like, some nerves is a great thing, because in that case, it's like you care. Like, you absolutely 100% care. If you don't have nerves, like I get, like I've done lots of these shows, I still get nervous a little bit each and every one, a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'd be lying. I mean, I'm more comfortable now than I was at like episode 20, but at the same time, it's just like, if I wasn't nervous, I don't think I'd do this anymore. Like I'd be scared. Like, if it got to the point where it's just like, I don't feel anything, what am I doing? Does that make sense?
Sure. You want to have some nerves, because there's anxiety isn't always a bad thing, right? It means we care. It means we're trying to do our best, and that we're not just kind of going through the motion. So of course, especially in creation, you want to have some anticipation.
Well, there is a little bit with, like, I think it's a healthy anxiety. It's like when you're trying to do something and there's always that anxiousness of will I or won't I. I think that's a good anxiety to have. Like I said, personally, I would be nervous if I was brain dead. But like, going to your comic for a second, like, dude, it's such a cool concept, and also just the name itself, Drumsticks of Doom. I mean, that if that doesn't scream metal, if that does not scream metal, I don't know what does. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the name, I felt like it was a good one. It's basically a spoof on a Manowar song called Drums of Doom. And I was like, what if it was called Drumsticks of Doom? And it was about drumsticks and they were magical, So I did feel like that kind of makes it an easy sell. And then the pitch line, the log line is, what if Black Sabbath, not the Beatles, became the most famous band in the world, and thus the universe was changed forever. So I feel like, yeah, I think after this many years, I kind of knew we had a pretty easy, either people were going to jump on it or not,
Now I'm actually thinking, what if Sabbath was the first major big success? That would be, I don't know, it would be a different world for me. I'd still be in a mosh pit, like getting trashed around all the time. Wouldn't be that different, but I think there'd be more people getting there. Although again, I'm interviewing metal bands a lot more now, which is always fun.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, they're like some of the chillest people ever. Like they really, really are. I became fans of like Ogash and Thorn, for example, right? Their band I interviewed. So I interviewed the lead singer. So I found out the drummer retweeted me. So it's like, now I'm interviewing the drummer. She's actually pretty bad. I was like, there's some just great people in that whole scene.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's just like, you look at that and you just go, no, man. I mean, I think ironically enough, this is what I think. If Black Sabbath had come first, music would be a lot more academic. And what I mean by that is I think metal and jazz are the actual exploration of what music can be. And you just notice that because I've noticed this with metal especially.
Mm-hmm.
Classical music is big time in metal. Like you hear a lot of the undertones there. And I'm just like, these guys are music fans. Like they're the biggest music fans in the world, right? Not saying that pop fans aren't music. They are definitely music fans.
Sure.
But I mean, I think the only one that goes down that line as intently is jazz, because jazz is like let's take the song and take it to wherever we can possibly imagine, right?
Yeah.
And metal does the same thing. It's just what if we made the Magical Flute song angry? And I think that's the cool
yeah.
Right?
I think that is a good way to say it. Yeah, I think metal fans, it seems to be people who make metal music. They're like you said, they're big. It's not just fans. Everybody's fans. They're obsessed with music. They go that extra mile to learn all the scales and all the solos and play 12-string guitars. They just do things. They push the boundaries of music. That's what I like about metal, and it's so diverse. Metal can mean so much.
No, totally, right. And like I said, the only one that can go with the head-to-head on that is jazz, because jazz is like, I can do that too. I am now when this is over, I am going to go on a quest to see if I can find a jazz metal band. There has to be one. Yeah, I'm almost certain there has to be one. Like the ultimate in like musical nerdery, jazz, and but hey, that's cool.
I'll have to remember the name. I used to see a local band around here where the lead singer played oboe, and they were like crazy, like doom metal, and he was like, he was going crazy.
Awesome.
He played like 3 different instruments, xylophones they had on stage. What the hell was their name?
I've seen xylophones of metal before. Shit, who was it? I want to say it's Scyther, but no, they were the band that played barefooted on stage. Like they actually play, like the lead guitarist, he plays barefoot on the stage. It's like only in a metal show would you see that, right? And no, I mean, it's amazing, like the level of music experimentation in there, and I just think it's cool that you did a fun little homage to it. Like obviously you're a big music fan. You mentioned Manowar, so you have my attention already. So I mean, it's just like one of those. It's one of those great. They're one of the best like hair metal bands of all time.
Oh, for sure. I was talking to my buddy about them actually this weekend, because he's been diving more into like the power metal and stuff, and that really wasn't my era. But I did like Manowar, and just because they're so over the top. And he was even saying, when I talk to other people about them or listen to podcasts, people are all like, Manowar is kind of almost its own section of power metal, because they're so ridiculous and so over the top, and that they kind of grab your attention with their ridiculousness.
Well, that's what makes them fun. Like not everything has to be like the serious. You can do like really great stories. I mean, hell, look at your Springfield comics. You're just having fun with that, man. Sometimes it's just about, well, how much of a good time can we have while we're here? And that's what
Exactly.
Manowar is.
And I always, the falsetto singing and stuff that, when you're a teenager, you're like, oh, that's not for me. I don't like Iced Earth, and I don't like Iron Maiden because they sing. And then as you get older, you realize, they have a lot of talent, and maybe it's at a range that's not your favorite, but you learn to respect it. And Manowar, you could tell as they went along, they were in on it, right? They even reference their own lyrics in older songs because they're just having fun, like you said. They have motorcycles on stage, and
Yeah.
it's just I'm all for that. Especially again as I got older and got a little over some of the teenage tough guy things. I was like, this is just fun. This is just fun metal, and there's cool lyrics, and that's really how the book actually started. I was like, what if Manowar lyrics came to life? Like there was broadswords and still and shit. And we were fighting each other. Like, what if some of these things that they sing about, and if you don't like metal, you are not my friend, and enemies of metal, and all that stuff they sing about. Like, what if that actually came? And that really is how it started. But then, when I kind of came up with the idea of the Black Sabbath thing, I was like, okay, that's where we'll go with it.
Well, Sabbath. Okay, so Sabbath takes themselves a touch more seriously than Manowar does, right? So I mean, it's like, okay, now we're adding a little bit of gravitas to the concept, which again, there's nothing wrong with that either. I think the important thing when you tell a story, and I don't care whether it's music, comics, or novels, or whatever the case may be, right? You understand what you're trying to do when you get up there, right? Like, what is the goal of the story? Your case, I get the feeling like you wanted to tell a really good story, but you wanted to have some fun along the way.
Absolutely. And I think, and I found the band. I was able to look it up. They were a local band called Yakuza. Now, there's a couple different other Yakuza, so I had to search metal.
You're gonna have to send them. You're gonna have to send them.
I'm sending it to you right now in message, but I couldn't move on until I thought of it. But they were so insane. And again, when I was younger, I was like, these guys are stupid. And then as I got older, I was like, oh no, these guys are doing some crazy shit.
It's funny. The older I get, this is what I've noticed. Where I'm a little less patient, but I'm also a lot goofier. Does that I don't know why that combination is the way it is. It's like I don't have time for like a lot of this pretentious shit, but I'm like, but if it's silly, if it's like one of those stupid silly things, I'm in now far more than I ever was when I was younger.
And I hope that some of that can come out in this book, because it really is about embracing the fun, because there is, it does touch a little bit on, metal is a community at times that can be very close-minded, some gatekeeping going on. So we kind of, hope to address some of that in the book. My feeling was always like, again, when I was younger, I listened to a lot of rock, a lot of heavy metal, a lot of death metal. I really got into like, Cannibal Corpse and Deicide and Morbid Angel for, most of my high school years. But I also enjoyed bands like the Talking Heads and Elton John and things like that. And as I got older, I really did embrace that. And I am more like what you're saying. I would rather listen to Guar now of the metal bands, because, they're embracing the fun. Manowar, bands like that. I tend to put them on more often than that really heavy, aggressive lyrics, because again, as I've gotten older, it's like, okay, I do respect that, and I do still listen to a lot of different kinds of metal, but I'm just kind of leaning towards that in my older age. You know what? We're only here for a short time. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's have fun. We don't have to be serious all the time.
Actually, I try to avoid being serious as much as possible. So my plan for coming next year, I'm going to be in the States a lot more. I have like a list of people I want to meet. You are definitely one of those people I want to meet in person somewhere. Yeah, what?
You'll be let down. Don't do that.
No, I don't think I will. I don't think I will. So here's my master plan. This is the thing. We get a van. I'm going to load it up with ice cream and booze. Okay. And I'm going to go across the country.
Town to town. No, everyone will want to see you then. It's ice cream and booze, man.
Yeah. Hey,
if you
listen.
don't like one, you'll probably like the other.
I actually mix them both. Bailey's and mint ice cream is phenomenal. You have to try it. You really have to try it. You'll be like, you can't beat. It's like, no, it really is. Now, chocolate's good, vanilla's good, but for me, I found mint was the right touch. Okay. Just like I said, as I've gotten older, I've gotten sillier, and right, because I think the wonderful thing about this whole game, this whole life, there's no rules, man. There's like get right down to it. as long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't think it matters that much.
I agree. I think
Yeah.
the only rule is that you eventually will return to the dirt, return to the earth. So, what you want to do with that time you're gifted in between. Um, I'm with you. I want to have fun. I want to make connections. I want to, enjoy that life
Yeah.
as much as I can.
Yeah. So we're about your drumsticks. Is this your ongoing, or does it have its start and end?
Well, again, we were super fortunate to have such a great response to the first issue that we actually went way above the initial goal. So we were able to, extend that issue, and that really is able to set us up for a longer series. It could have just been a one-shot, one-and-done story, but thanks, to all the people on Kickstarter, I have it planned out in roughly three-issue arcs, but there's more to the story there if people continue to read, and we can get Dan and the other artists on the book, their page rates continuing going forward, then I'm happy to continue it longer. But right now it's planned to have three-ish issue arcs, so 9 to 10 issues it'll probably end up being.
That's so today. That's still an amazing run. I actually think, again, this one of those maybe get older, get simpler, and thing as I've gotten older. I like comics that tell a full story in a short time. Does that? I don't know if that's the way. And this is, and I know saying that I sound like a complete hypocrite because I collect Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is 130 issues and up.
Rebooted 35 times, and
yeah. No.
I mean, I used to collect Spider-Man too. I collected from 300 to 700, and finally, stepped away from the character. But I love long series. I love Fables. Sweet Tooth is one of my favorites. You're talking 100 issues, 60 issues. Invincible was over 100. I love series like that, but yeah, I am more like you, especially as a creator. I understand that at this stage in my career, I'm probably not going to get the time to tell, 50, 100 issue arc. And maybe I don't have a story to tell like that. Why would I force that into any of my stories? I'd like to make them more manageable so that I can enjoy the process more. If I launch this right now as a 100-issue series, it's just going to be a grind for the next 10 or 15 years. Because you know how independent comics work, right? We're lucky to put out 2 or 3 issues a year. So what's that going to take me then? Even if I got picked up by a publisher next week, it's still going to take me 5-10 years. I'd rather tell this story. And then if there's more stories to tell within that universe, we can revisit it if we need to.
Well, it's going to be interesting. And I'm going to be very curious where you're at in 2 years, because you're going to be, I think you do good shit. Honestly, and I'm not just saying that just because I've done stuff for you. I mean, you do some fun, engaging, entertaining. I haven't read everything you've done, but everything I've seen so far, it's fun, entertaining, and engaging. That's
the best compliment I could get,
Yeah, no, that's the 3 I'm going to give you. And the thing about that is, okay, I don't know if you ever become the biggest seller. I mean, that it does happen, but I do think you could find a very nice audience and just ride that audience, because again, I mentioned Ninja Turtles. Here's the thing about Ninja Turtles: it's not the most serious comic you're going to read, but it's all 3 of those things. It's entertaining, it's engaging, right, and it's a little bit more bombastic. But that's okay. That's part of the fun of that. But that's part of the fun, right? You find it found its audience, and it's, dude. I remember starting that at the same time as Sega. It's got more issues out now than Sega does, right? And all right, and it's just it found its audience. I think I don't know if this is going to be the series you do 100 issues, and I'm not sure that's what you want to do exactly. But in a couple of years, I could see you trying bigger stories just to see if you could do them. And I think you might have the room to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. I don't want to make, those plans and then, again, not be able to finish it. I like to finish projects, see them,
I get
follow through. So I'd like to tell stories that can be more contained and then grow from there. So, no, but I appreciate the compliments. My hope is that, I mean, I have decent employment. I work by day as a social worker. I'm happy with my employment. My wife is employed.
Yeah.
So it helps. I don't feel like I have to do this, make this a career full-time, hence the name, tongue-in-cheek part-time comics. I can continue to tell the stories I want to, and hopefully, like you said, find an audience around the way to engage with. and I don't have to be the biggest seller in the world. I've got plenty of satisfaction out of my life in general. So I'm happy to be in this niche of the indie world as long as they'll, keep coming back to read it.
You're in an interesting jello, my friend. Like that's the same. Like I'm trying to make a career with my creativity, and it's ups and downs. But I'm getting to higher places, which is a good thing. But you're like I'm here for the ride. I'm gonna have a good time doing it. And there's a tiny part of me, I have to admit, is a little bit envious, but also kudos. I mean, you seem like you know what you want, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, and I try not to lose sight of that.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate. I have a great family. I have a healthy family. And again, I was able to make some good decisions with a lot of support from a lot of people when I was younger to have a successful career in what I do. So yeah, again, I can continue to do this. Of course, we all would love, right, to live a little easier. I would love to come in tomorrow and look at the Kickstarter and it's made, 50 grand or something like that. Of course, I would like that. But not having that kind of pressure to feel like I have to succeed. Again, I'm very fortunate, right? Not everybody feels like that. A lot of people are like, I need to get out of my dead end job and I need to, and those are the people, I try to support and champion that are really trying to make this a career. But for me, I get to do it for fun, really.
And again, nothing wrong with that. I've said this to many of creative. It doesn't matter why you're doing it as long as you're honest with yourself about why you're doing it. Right? That's it. Right? You know what your goals are. You know who you are. Shit, man. Nothing will stop you. You know that's great. But I am curious about something because you've done zines, you've done comics.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have? I'm not going to say a mini series per se, but do you know what I'm talking about? Like a graphic novel, something along the lines of Brian Lee O'Malley's, like Scott Pilgrim, or something along that line. Like, is there something like that? Like you'd love to try somewhere? Like, or do you have those kind of stories in the head, or is it one project at a time, and I'll get there when I get there?
Well, I'm definitely, again, I started the rebooted the company as Part-Time Comics, a little bit tongue in cheek, but also it was kind of a message to myself to kind of set limits. I'm definitely not a person who does one project at a time. I'm definitely a multiple irons in the fire. I mean, it doesn't mean I'm, stressing and working 24/7, but I have multiple projects going usually at one time, some longer, some shorter, anthologies, different things, pitches. And unfortunately, with Part-Time Comics, I said I was going to set limits. I was going to do one project at a time, let them build. It hasn't happened that way. I have about 4 or 5 at different various stages. And depending on, audience engagement and how fast the artist can work, I would like to, get some of these projects going. I have Depowered, which is a 3-issue miniseries that I'm attempting to launch issue 2 soon. Drumsticks of Doom is probably the longest right now, but I'm trying to launch with another buddy another series soon. We're trying to start with a pitch, build from there, and that one I would hope would be a much longer series of books. So unfortunately, I'm always kind of like that. I've always got 2 or 3 things, irons in the fire at once. Usually, probably about 5.
I get that. I'm there too. I got my Alice in Wonderland story. I got a novel I'm working on. I got actually 2 novels I'm working on. I got my first Kickstarter, which comes out next year, early next year.
Okay.
I'm doing my Dr. Seuss Golden Storybook, man. Like that's
nice.
that's what I'm going to be doing.
Okay.
In my opinion, Dr. Seuss is one of the 3 greatest graphic novelists of all time.
For sure.
Right? Some people, when they say that, go, that doesn't make sense. Like, no, it does. Look at his stuff. It's all graphic. It's graphic literature.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
He's one of the most engaged authors in that regard, right? Who doesn't know and most love and have learned to read from him? And yeah, you're right.
Exactly. So I did a Dr. Seuss. I'm doing a golden story. I'm going to do 2 versions: a golden storybook and a comic version, right? And I'm trying to get some of the people I'm a big fan of to do variant covers. I got 2 confirmed yeses. So now I just guys save up my bazillions of dollars to get this ball rolling. But yeah, I'm hoping like that'll be next year. And then I got a graphic novel I pitched to an actual publisher. So I'm kind of seeing how that all plays out. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm drawing that one. I'm scared to death, man.
Wow.
Yeah. It's because I'm where I'm at that I'm drawing it, because it requires somebody that's just kind of in the getting started stage. I'm past the point where I look like a beginner, but I'm not. But I still like. You compared me to say like Rodney Fike or Anvu. I mean, they're way better than I am.
Sure.
I don't even say that as a bad thing. It's like, hey, they're way better. Way more practice.
I've kind of toyed with that. I've started and stopped many times with trying to do some sort of simple art project thing, but just haven't had the courage to move forward with it. So I respect that. You know what? You put it out. I mean, as long as it's not taking all your time, you know what? See what you got. It'll be an experience.
Well, I have two. Like if this one works, I know what my next one's going to be. I have a story about a dragon making fun of his creator who draws him poorly. I figure you of all people will get a kick out of that. Like it's a fun way of doing a
You're
how to
obsessed with
draw
these fourth wall breaking dragons. What's with that?
Yeah.
You think about them a lot.
Well, it's again, I always have like ideas. Like I always have great ideas, and it's just a matter of putting the time in. I'm still a writer first, but what I've learned is like everything I do, like every other thing, like I'm sure this is true in your social work. Your social work is brought into your comics, even if it's not necessarily something everybody else sees. You'll come out, you'll read your stuff. I'm like, yep, my day job influenced this.
Yeah, I mean, one of our stories is literally like, as I've gotten later in my career, of course, the cliche is write what you know. And I've definitely like, we have a book about a social worker for possessed children, child possession services. And it's literally like, snippets from my day job, so to speak, so, well, except for the no possessed kids. Some of them seem like they are because they're having behavioral health problems, but no, of course, no. I've never done any actual exorcisms or anything like that, but
not that he's willing to admit on TV anyway. But no, I mean, it's just like again, it's part of the deal. Like but it's also the other like the smaller skills too, the discipline. I imagine you're a very good listener because again, you do all the social work you do. I mean, a big part of your job is listening to what's going on with the other person. So I could just imagine from a collaboration standpoint, you're very good at hearing people and kind of what they need or what they're looking for. And because again, when you're a writer of a comic, you're also kind of like the director, producer, or the guy with the obnoxious microphone. Hey, lights, camera, action, that kind of guy,
yeah.
right? And
I do think you're right. I think that has factored into being successful with project completion because I do feel like, people have told me before I have patience. I mean, part of that is my natural personality, but also part of the job, right? I've learned, I trained for many years to listen. I can feel, when other people are stressed, I'm able to say, listen, we need more time for deadlines. We can work together. This didn't work. This worked. I feel like it helps. I think most of my collaborators kind of come back, to work or ask me to work again. So I feel like you might be on the right path. Maybe I do have an ability to listen and see. And again, a lot of people have told me that is kind of my strength in comics is that I do see projects through and I enjoy that part of it. If you say you want to work on a project, we're going to figure out a way to do it.
yeah, no,
and I like being the guy who completes things.
Well, it's a heck of a confidence booster too, right? Because you can do it, right? You always wonder, like when you're talking about like the drawing thing. I mean, part of that is you haven't completed it one yet. If you ever did, you'd have to. I'm not trying to push you in any direction, by the way. I'm just saying, like this is just how it works. When you do something, the more you do something, the more confident you get at doing it, and it makes it. Again, I don't think the nerves completely go away. That's not what this is about. But in terms of the process of finishing work, it's one of the biggest skills. Like artists, it's one of the biggest skills artists lack, right? Especially when they're started, is learning how to do that. You got that nailed down. And if you got that nailed down, that's going to put you leaps and bounds ahead of so many people, right? I mean, even with Kickstarters, I mean, the fact of the matter is you might finish a project faster than the average person. And if you do that, it's like that's you the freedom to do more work. And the more work you do, the more fans you make.
Yeah. I mean, just put the work out there, throw the spaghetti noodles at the wall, see which ones stick.
Yeah.
You know, just keep completing projects. Each one builds on itself. You learn things. You know, you build relationships. It's you know, you got to enjoy that process. And again, I like having the finished product in my hand. You know, comics is that unique medium like that, right? Like movies, TV. I mean, novel writing you could, but comics. You know, if you work hard, you can, you know, print some copies for yourself and have that finished project and feel, like you said, accomplished in what you did, and then, you know, build on that.
The
I mean,
difference
the
between
first anthology I did was for a group message board back in the day when they had message boards, and everybody on the message board said, you know, we've tried to launch this before. You know, we have like 20, 25 artists and writers on here, and we've never really been able to get it together. And at that time, I was too stupid to know and naive the amount of work. So I said, I'll do it. And I was, you know, ever since then, people told me that was my first time being published and seeing my work in print. And, you know, that really got me excited, like how excited they were to see the project through. But again, I had to learn Photoshop and I had to learn all these things, and I had great partners to help me, but it was way more than I thought. Had I known, I might have hesitated and said, yeah, it's too much work. But at the time, it was like, okay, you say it can't be done. Let's find a way to do it. And all these wonderful artists work for free. And we have this sweet book that we still have, you know, a few hundred copies floating out there in the world. And we ended up doing 3 other volumes, with expanded it to even more artists and writers. And that was just, I'm so proud when I see those on the shelf. It's like, you know, again, people say these projects can't be done, but, you know, with a little grit and a little time and a little project management skills, you know, you can do it in comics. And we have this awesome thing that we can show to each other now, you know, not in our
yeah.
friends and family.
Well, no, I think the big thing is, I think here's the difference between a comic and a novel. A novel, I'd still work with people, but it's like I'm the guy with the ball,
Mm-hmm.
right? I finish the book, quote unquote, score the touchdown, and then I go to my editors, proofers, all that stuff. Okay, how can we do this better?
Take the touchdown away.
Yeah, it takes. Sometimes it feels that way. That wasn't a touchdown. What do you mean it wasn't a touchdown? Look right here. And you look, you're like, no, you're not. It was a touchdown. I swear. No, but that's the difference. Whereas comics, everybody's working together. Like, I don't get me wrong. I've worked with artists even on my novels and stuff like that, and they've definitely contributed something to my work. But an artist on a comic book gets to, like, they have so much input because they're doing a lot of the what I call the heavy lifting, like the drawing stuff. Like, there's so much of the heavy lifting that they, and somewhere along the way, the book isn't just you anymore; it's them. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's I think that is such a neat. Comics, you get both. When you write a novel, you're carrying a vision out to life. Comics, you're doing the same things when you write them. But when you draw them too, it's like it's almost like a different dimension of bringing it, seeing that play out. And when you have multiple people doing it, right, you're getting not just one person's vision, you're getting multiple visions. It's almost like you're in a band.
Exactly what I was going to say. Part, you know, going back to the book we're talking about now, it is very much like that. And having that experience of being in bands for, you know, 15 or 20 years, I think also helped me collaborate, because as much as I can sit down and say, you know, I'm in a band where I'm making a song, I cannot play guitar. I cannot sing for the life of me. I need those other people. We need each other, right? They can't sit down behind the drum kit and do what I can do. Most of them. Yeah, I met a few people who can play, and like, you know, you meet people who can write and draw too, and bless their hearts. But I mean, that's a great analogy, because all these projects you're talking about and all my, you know, my skills, or whatever you want to call them, in project management, wouldn't happen without the teams that made them
Yeah.
happen. I mean, all these books, not a single one did I work on by myself. I couldn't. I could letter and write. I mean, it would be blank pages and word balloons. But you know, all these great
Flow
covers and things
charts.
like that.
You do never ending flow charts.
Right? I could do some design. I can do Photoshop, but that's about it. But yeah, there's that's a cool part of it. You have like these little collections of moments that you shared with people, and you know, I was flipping through the Banthology anthology, which was a music themed anthology, and rereading some of the stories the other day, and it's just, that's a fun part to me, is to look back at a moment in your life that you jammed with somebody, you know.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm not gonna make you choose between favorite collaborators because you might get physically beaten. I don't want that to happen to you because because that's you work with everybody brings something so different to the project. But I will say, maybe this: what is the biggest lesson you've learned? Like who's taught you the most of everybody you worked with?
Well, I mentioned that anthology that I did for the 11 o'clock comics message board, and part of what prompted that is my first kind of desire to write comics. I had really no experience. I posted, would anybody be interested in jamming together? Here's some ideas I have. And the person who responded, much to his detriment, 12 years later, Bob Ornelas, we still work together. So you asked me my favorite collaborator. I'm not afraid to say it. No, everybody knows. I love working with Bob. I love his art. We've made so many characters and moments and things together over the last, 12 years. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter tomorrow if I wake up and everyone had canceled their pledge on the Kickstarter. I would be devastated for a little bit, but I still have this wealth of experience that I've had. And if that's all I get, then I'm happy with that. And Bob is a huge part of that. And he's taught me so much. I mean, he taught me how to letter in Photoshop, partly because he probably didn't want to letter my scripts anymore. He's like, hey man, letter it yourself. You freaking deadbeat, do something, because I'm already drawing your comics for you for free.
Yeah.
But he's taught me so much about, being a writer, being a comics professional, preparing a page for print. Just so much. I couldn't even single down one lesson that he's taught me. But he's just been a huge part of this whole thing. I wouldn't be sitting here without him. So literally, if he hadn't responded to that post, I probably would have, gone on to something else or continued being in a band or whatever.
He's your Black Sabbath. Like he's the Black Sabbath. Like what the greatest band?
I mean, he's my Tony Iommi. He picked me out. Like I don't really have a ton of talent. I bless Ozzy Osbourne. I love Ozzy and I love Sabbath. But without Tony Iommi, there is no Black Sabbath. Not to say that my is Black Sabbath, but
I don't think Ozzy would dispute that.
Yeah, I don't think
I don't think he would. No, well, it's just again, everybody has their place in whatever. Like if you're talking about bands, there's a reason why certain people are where they're at, right?
Yeah.
Like Ozzy is an amazing showman. He's a fantastic showman. Is he the most talented guy in his band? I don't even think he'd say yes.
No,
that,
and
right?
Sabbath isn't Sabbath without him. We know that he was right place, right time. They all lived in the same area. It worked out. But yeah, if he didn't pick him out, and he even said at the time, he was getting into criminal activities and things like that, he'd probably be dead right now if it wasn't for it. And now I wasn't in that situation, but I do feel that same way. I was definitely somewhat very much of a novice trying to make my way, and Bob really helped me, so much along the way that, he's indispensable to everything that I do. I mean, he even did the logo for Part-Time Comics for me recently. So, he's still involved. We still do projects together. So
that's cool. So I'm going to ask this. What are you prouder of? Jon Westhoff, the writer, or Jon Westhoff, the publisher?
Oh, definitely Jon Westhoff, the publisher. Again, just talking about those anthologies, even Banthology again came up the other day, and people, were reminiscing about, it's been 8 years since we put this out. I just love those stories. I met Dan, who is the artist on Drumsticks of Doom, through that anthology. We formed a friendship since then, and we finally are working together on a bigger project. I've met so many people by being that bridge to them and saying, hey, do you want to work on a project? Do you want to put things out? I mean, of course, my own stories too. I'm very proud of seeing that. And really, Kingbone Press was Bob's company to kind of self-publish his own stuff. And it was me who came along and said, well, can we publish together? And together we made it a bigger thing for about a decade. We published together. And some things happened, and it was time to kind of branch out on my own. But I love the publishing aspect. I love seeing the things in print. I love choosing the paper quality and getting quotes from printers and preparing books. And just like we worked on a project together, that to this day, that's such a rewarding thing for me, for someone to say, this is my first published material. This is the first time I've worked on X, Y, or Z, and just their excitement when they get it in the mail and they look at the product. And I love that kind of stuff. That's what keeps me wanting to make comics. So
you officially broke me in the comics, my friend. You were the guy.
That's it.
Yeah. You broke me in. It's not
let's strike that from the record. I do not want to be responsible for it. The turmoil and sadness that comes with working in the comics community.
I expect it. Like even like I'm just telling you, like working in the writing communities up here, I can tell you, like the one consistency is probably the hardest thing to find. Like right, it's not talent. You find lots and lots of talented people, and life stuff happens too. Like we all have choke points sometimes. Like sometimes it's just like personal things need to happen, financial things cut in the way, and that's one thing. I think we all understand those things. Um, the my biggest disappointments when I've worked for people have not been those things. It's been when they've this is going to sound really lame, is when they've said they were going to do something but they don't. That's the worst. That is the absolute worst thing for me. The best thing is when I meet somebody and we're genuine about working together and we make something. That's the best. It's the best part of the whole process. I mean, well, arguably sit best. The other one is when someone reads your stuff and goes, I really, really, really dug this. That there's nothing quite like that either.
They're pretty close. Like you said, I mean, working with other people in both the On the Stack anthologies about Magic the Gathering. Yeah, just so again, that was reminded me of the first anthology we did, and all these people reached out to me after the first one. That's part of how I won't say his real name because I don't know if he wants it, but he goes by Beyond the Machina.
Yeah.
He reached out to me and said, well, I had seen his altars and he saw the zine and he was like, yeah, I'd be interested in doing something for it. And it was like, again, those kind of interactions and connections and our cover artist, Tim Gadke, he's worked in many comics, but it was just fun to work with him on a project. He and I both love, Magic the Gathering. So many, different people you can bring in on these different projects. The Simpsons one was the same. So many people have never been in print and just, they were so excited to, get a small page rate and get copies of the book. And, I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So that just reminds me, the next time you come on the show, whenever that is, we got to do Magic.
Okay. Well, I mean, I got my cards right here.
I don't got them here. So I'll tell you who my commander is. I got the Mr. Teller of Tales, the 5-drop. Whenever I play a creature, I get to play a land. Tulane. Yeah.
I love Tulane. Yeah. I have the Brawl deck for that, but I haven't made him into a full commander yet.
No, I
love cards like that.
No, I'm going to tell you straight up what I'm doing. Thune, Archangel of Thune, my friend. That's where I'm going with that.
Spike feeder. Let's go.
Yeah.
Put those counters on.
Yeah. Oh no, So my all-time favorite creatures in white are Thune, and I like Baneslayer Angel because
that's classic. It's a good on rate.
Yeah. No. It just wins. Like I remember I was playing the red deck, and every time I saw Baneslayer, it's like, well, I just lost.
Yeah. Yeah, it does a lot. It does a lot for 5 mana, but
yeah, it does. No, it's a ridiculous card. But those are my favorite two, angels. And then I snuck in one more, which was Angel of Destiny, the new one from Zendikar.
Okay.
So he's my alt win con. So if I gain 15 lives beyond my starting life total and I hit you, I win. Nice. So it's so I'm having that's the white aspect of it. Obviously green. I'm using landfall cards, obviously, because I've
gotten more into Commander in the recent years, especially with COVID, and I've been playing a lot of people over webcam. That's an easy format to play. I have about 6 Commander decks, but my baby deck is the Gitrog monster. I love lands. I love interacting with lands in the graveyards and things like that. So Gitrog monster, that's my guy.
No, that sounds fun. No, I just think like Commander's the best format, I think, for Magic, honestly. And the reason I say that is because you can just have so much fun with it. It's a very simple concept. Pick your legend and build a deck around it.
It's just like we said before, you get older, you just want to have fun. Like I tried getting back into constructed formats, and it's just such a grind to keep up and buy cards and stuff. It's like, what am I doing? I'm spending my precious hours a week that I want to play Magic. Being miserable and playing against people that are hyper competitive is not always fun for me. So it just dawned on me. I got back into Magic for Commander. Why don't I just? And I also like to draft. I do cube drafts, regular drafts. That's fun.
Cube. I'm a little bit more fan of sealed than draft. Okay. A little bit more fan of, but same concept really. It just right?
The playing field is level. Everybody opens their cards. Let's see what we have, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
more fun to me as I get older,
Well,
especially
yeah,
pre-release, because it's like a lot of the players are, we're casual players and we're just there to have fun,
well, I think. Well, see, I used to enjoy wrecking competitive people. I was that asshole when I was in Magic. I would come up with, like, these rogue decks that would beat the more competitive. Like, the beautiful thing about, like, Magic Standard, for ladies and gentlemen, is this: the decks are predictable, and if you just happen to understand how to play them, you can sometimes mess them. I enjoyed that very, very much. But yeah, now that I'm older and wiser, I'm more interested in just building. Let's just have some fun. I don't need to win in like 3 turns. Let's just play a really fun game. Let's get really competitive. Competitive in the point. Let's have a good board game and let's have some fun.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So
we'll play though. Episode 900.
Or it's the nine somewhere in the 900s. And when you come back, we'll be like, okay, let's do it. Let's get a proper commander going. Oh, favorite Magic set of all time.
Favorite Magic set. I have an affinity. I came back to Magic after many years away around the time of Khans of Tarkir. I like a lot. Kaladesh I like a lot. But even though I can't even tell you if any of the cards that I don't think any of the single cards in the set I play in any decks right now. But it's probably Torment. When I started playing, that really got me into Magic. I came in around Odyssey block, and Torment was the very black focus, and I just became obsessed with black cards, and it was just such a cool thing. Like, they had a set that really focused on black cards, the Cabal Coffers and Sanger Vampire.
Well, actually, my favorite one from that set is they didn't make quite Demonic Tutor, but in some ways they actually made it better. It's the one that lets you search for anything, but you have to kill a creature. And considering how
Diabolic
black works,
Intent, that was Plane Shift.
Okay, that was Plane Shift. Okay.
Yeah, close.
Same
block. Around the same time.
Yeah, that's that from that.
But that's
block.
another set that I love. Invasion, Apocalypse, Plane Shift. Like, I love Apocalypse because, again, I had started about that time, and the enemy color cards like Spirit Monger and Lightning Angel, like, those were like so cool to me at the time. I was like, wait, these are supposed to only be friendly colors. Who are these enemy color cards? And I just fell in love with especially black green.
Fire and Ice is my favorite card from that set. Like,
that's a good
card. That's a good card, right? So, but no, those are fun blocks. For me, it's still Ravnica.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was out at that time. I like it now. And going back, some of the cards are amazing, so iconic, so much about the set. But I missed like the draft and the standard around that time, so I don't have enough familiarity.
The best standard I ever played was Ravnica Kamigawa standard. That was the best standard I've ever played. It was a home brewer standard.
Okay, because I was gonna say Kamigawa was kind of lamented as not a great set, right?
No, it's not a great. No, it's better. It doesn't really have this like a personal set identity. Although on a personal note, I love the ninjas. I love
the ninjas.
I love the ninjas. They're great, and there were some really cool cards in Kamigawa. But what I loved about Ravnica, like that first Ravnica set with Kamigawa, every week you'd show up and it'd be like you could bring a homebrew deck and you could actually win your standard. Like, that was like it's the only yeah, it's rare, but you could win it. It's not always the case, but you could actually win it, right? Right, that was my favorite standard. But for me, it's in this order. It's Ravnica, Innistrad. I love Innistrad. It's such a fun bonker set, and
that's a great one, classic.
Yeah. And Zendikar, the first Zendikar block set is still really
fetch
cool.
Is so good.
Yeah.
Finally, after all those years. Although I do have mixed feelings about fetch lands again as I've gotten older, shuffling, all that shit, all that they enable. It's like maybe fetch lands were a mistake.
Well, they're the most powerful land. Well, I figured out like it took me a long time to understand. The best cards in Magic are always the lands. They're always the lands.
And that's why I love like lands matter decks and stuff.
Yeah. No, but because better your lands are, the better your decks are. Fetch lands are arguably the best lands ever.
I don't think there's any argument. They are the best. Partly because there are duels and shocks to fetch with them, but I get that. But still, you can do so many colors with one fetch. You can fetch, 4 or 5 different colors. And it's just, they're the best. Yeah, they enable graveyard stuff. They can be returned to your hand and done again. They do so much for one life it's insane.
Yeah, no, it's just like it's one of those things you
Shuffle
look at.
your
It's
deck
like,
if you need to.
well, that's just it, right? They're just ridiculous, and you're just looking at them and going, they might be too good. Like they might be too good, but it is what it is. I mean, you can have in standard, you can have fetch lands, but you can't have shocks or duels if you have them. Because if you do,
It's just too much.
Oh no, it's just too fast. Games are too fast. Before we wrap up, I'm just gonna ask. So your thing ends on the 7th, right? So you
The
think
7th,
right,
9 p.m. Central Time.
9 p.m. Central Time. So have you hit your goal?
We have not. We're just under $400 away, so we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
We don't have about half as many backers as last time, so hopefully a lot of people are waiting, for the big surge here at the end. But sometimes
usually,
that happens with an issue too.
Well, I'm already mentioning that. It's funny because for me, second issues are always, I think, are the hard ones because I think even like traditionally in comics, first issues always do this big giant whatever, and then the second issues there's a drop.
Oh, that happens in shops all the time, right? Because now it's like, okay, we were excited, but now you got to prove it, and not everybody comes back, and there's a collector mentality.
Yeah, exactly. I think I was thinking about this with you because you mentioned this. It's like I don't know if I should chime in, but if I were to make a bet, issue 3, you'll be fine.
Okay,
right.
That's what a lot of people say. A lot of people. I'm in a lot of groups where we talk about this all the time. Yeah, once you get to 3 or 4 issues, then you've got a solid ground. People kind of wait. The issues have built up, then they get them all at once. And if you can kind of hang in there, and again, we did so well with the first issue that we have, some wiggle room here, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, no,
it'll keep coming out. At least this first 3 issue arc, and then we'll see, where it's at.
Yeah. And I guess the last thing I want to mention, like again, you mentioned this, you're a part-time comic guy, but I think one of the other things I really admire about you is this. You have a really interesting business sense about like an issue has to do a certain amount or an anthology has to do a certain amount for you to actually keep it going. So when you do all these projects, do you have like a threshold with all of them about this is what I can afford to do? This is where I'd like it to be. It's like, do you set those goals with everything?
Sure. Yeah. Every goal, I often go over them as I did with, both of the last anthologies. If you're really excited to work with somebody and they have a certain page rate, or you get other creators you want to work with, and then it blows up the cost of the book, I always allow myself some wiggle room. Again, it's kind of some of it to a certain extent. Again, I'm financially okay, so if I throw a couple $100 of my own money in there, it's no big deal. It's kind of my hobby anyway. But I do usually you try to set that minimum. This is the minimum amount about what I need to print. And with part-time comics, I'm really trying, unless somebody's adamant about working for free, I try to offer people something for their time. Copies of the book, small page rates, something. And in some cases, like, Dan is a full-time working artist. I'm not going to insult him and say, don't put food on the table for your family. I'm paying him what his page rate is so that he can continue working on the book at a good pace. So I want my teams to be paid for what they agree to first. On my back end, it's like, whatever. If I sell the books, I'll make a couple dollars down the road. But I always have that, I'm pretty decent nowadays about the budget. I need this much, at least minimum, to make it happen. And then if it doesn't reach that, and it's usually about 10% lower than what, will cover all costs. So then again, with the extra books, I can recoup the rest of the costs. If I have a project that goes over significantly, then I'm good. Then now I have enough to start the next issue or whatever needs to happen.
Boring.
Sounds like the budgeting part is always tough, but again, I do want it's part of the game because I want to work with working artists. I want to offer them something. I want to print the books, and that's very expensive. Shipping's expensive, so it is part of the deal. You have to be comfortable with the financial aspect. So I wouldn't recommend anybody go into it if you don't have some sort of cushion or extra hobby money, because it can get very expensive very quick.
Well, yeah, that's like the biggest thing I'm worried about with my Kickstarter is, okay, I'm going to cover every cost I can think of. I might go bugs people like you. It's like, so John, what didn't I think of?
Absolutely. I'm always happy to look at it. I look at tons of people's Kickstarters. Again, I don't want to hoard the information myself. I love helping people and trying to sharing the knowledge that I've gained so that it can help them. There's no guaranteed formula. I think a lot of people speak very confidently, like if you do this, this, and this. I just don't think that's the case because there's a million factors out of your control when you launch the book and other books that are on and all kinds of things that can happen. But, I'm always happy to look at it, help people set reasonable expectations, what's going to work, what's not, what looks good, what doesn't. I'm always happy to look over it. So please don't hesitate.
All right. So let's do the wonderful promotions. Do you have the link, sir, to your Kickstarter?
I do. How do I get it to you? In the private
chat will work. Yes.
Private chat.
On second
Short
here.
link work.
I'm checking it out right now.
But I am at Part-Time Comics with an X on all social media. For some reason on Instagram, it's part_comics _time_comics. So you can find me on anything. Linktree /Part-Time Comics is the easiest one to find me at. And you can see all of our links there to our web stores and YouTube channel and all that stuff.
I'm doing this because I am a trained professional or something to that effect. So anybody watching this, go here to Part-Time Comics, go to Drumsticks of Doom. Like I said, if you are listening to this, this episode is going to be airing a touch early. I got to just convince that asshole to do it, but I'm sure I can do that. And so it'll come out. So if you are clicking on the link below, it will be available until Thursday this week, 9 p.m. Central. You said.
Friday, 9 p.m. Central, October 7th. Friday night.
So that'll be it. So go definitely check this out. This is like one of the coolest concepts out there. I'm actually, like I said, kicking myself that I can't actually back it the way I want it to right now because it's like this looks so damn cool. But no, man, like I said, you do great work, my friend. I'm glad thank you for coming on to chat with me very briefly about this stuff and. Good luck with everything. Are you going to do one more campaign this year, or is this your last campaign?
I believe I'm going to try to squeeze in Depowered, our superheroes who lost their powers story, the second issue. It's been about a year since the first issue, so I'd like to get that series going again, see how people respond after kind of rethinking it and retooling a little bit. So, yeah, I'm hoping to get one more in, and then Drumsticks of Doom issue 3, once we deliver issue 2, should be early in 2023.
All right. And that will do it, ladies and gentlemen, for this edition of Just Joshing. All right, this is Jon Westhoff. So before we wrap this up, let's do my proper due diligence. And I really should have a copy paste for this because, I trained professional and all that other wonderful happy. So if you guys got a project, a Kickstarter, a book, I make advertising services for you. And they're right here. And I can do that for you right now. If you're interested in any of that, click on the link there below. And this isn't my last comic book podcast this week, ladies and gentlemen. I got Sean Barber and Chuck Pinot tomorrow night. It's going to be fun. Sean's first time on the show, not Chuck's first time on the show, but definitely Sean. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see it. I did a nice little review for Belial, too. I don't know if you saw that or not, but
I did not, but we are already. We've reached 150 backers, so you get a free copy of Belial #1. So if you back right now, I'll send it to you right away so you can read it, just so you jump right over and back issue 3, which is on Kickstarter now. So Chuck and Sean and I are doing a crossover promotion of sorts. So please back his book, their book.
Yeah, no, we can definitely do that. I'll make sure to remind them about your book tomorrow. You're saying I have to move 2 episodes up? Okay, fine, I'll do that. All right, guys. That will do it for this episode, Just Joshing. Tomorrow, like I said, Chuck Pinot, Jon Barber. Stay inspired, everybody. And say keep shining in the dark, and I'll see you guys next time.